Welcome in to another week of the College Football Live Betting Q&A, sponsored by BetMGM Sports. Fellas, last week was a roller coaster for myself. I started out 0-5. I think it was Vaughn who gave me the words of encouragement that told me we will continue, we will strive. So V, I appreciate that because I did finish the week like 5-6, which
let's go.
At the end of the day, it's a marathon, not a sprint. We're not going to we're not going to win every week. Vaughn, how'd your week fare? Anything you want to talk about to kick the show off?
Well, I've been going, around 500 or a little bit above that. For 3 weeks, we've been doing this week 0, week 1, week 2. And I was upset that you won, Brad. You won the pizza bet because that would have gave me a 5-3 week, but I ended up 4-4. Made slight profit because Fresno State best bet in the money line came through. But your pizza will be there 30 minutes after the show. It's a pesto pizza, by the way. So I hope you and the wifey enjoy it, my friend. Eric, how was your week?
Yeah, had a great week. Gosh, 11-4 last week on the show. That makes for good eating, of course. But
yes, it does.
We had an 11 a.m. We have an 11 a.m. kick today. So if you can get it in, I put it out there on Twitter right beforehand. But Patrick Smith, running back, Vanderbilt, is listed at 58.5 rushing yards. That is a hard under for me. That was actually going to be my best bet. But with the game starting at 11 a.m., I obviously couldn't do that. So Wake Forest is a brutal pass D, ranked 108th in success rate last year, but their run defense, pretty good. Held teams to 3.8 yards per carry, top 25 in terms of line yardage last year on the defensive side. So, obviously you're going to have a better opponent than Vanderbilt and Hawaii and the FCS team they played. And even the first 2 games, Smith, 7 rushes, 30 yards, 4.3 yards per carry against Hawaii. 10 rushes, 50 yards against Alabama A&M last week. Shared carries, Cedric Alexander, promising true freshman, had 87 yards and 2 touchdowns last game. I just think he's better than Patrick Smith, and it was a seniority play to have Smith even listed as the starter here. You're going to see more out of Cedric Alexander here in a competitive game, and you can see Smith sort of take a secondary role. That is way too much for 58.5 yards.
That feels like they must have known you were onto something good because they took that line down like 10 minutes before the game started for me. I went to go bet it so I could party with you, but I wasn't able. Before we get into the games, I want to ask you guys one question because I had a hard time kind of understanding or trying to put logic behind this saying. When teams play a bad team in the week before, they say they saved their stuff, right? When a team plays bad against a bad team, how much do we buy into it that they're saving their best stuff for the next week, or are they just not as good as everyone thought? I'll kick it to you first, Vaughn.
Well, I'm certainly interested in a couple of teams today. Texas Tech is one of them, taking on Oregon. We'll talk about a couple games of teams that just didn't look like what we thought they were, whether they were ranked or non-ranked last week. But I think, when you have look-ahead spots, you certainly can have letdown opportunities. We'll talk about some of those today. But there's a game in particular. Everyone wants to bet Alabama and Texas, right? These 2 teams can't wait to play each other, revenge angle, the home factor, that type of stuff. But my angle in that game is whoever loses, I am smacking 2 units or more on that spread the next one. If Texas loses, they're playing Wyoming. They're going to destroy Wyoming. It's kind of those type of angles I look at it as well. But there's always those letdown and look-ahead spots, Brad. So when you're talking about saving their best stuff, it's really the second half of games where a team like Michigan says, hey, let's pull the plug. Let's play great defense. Make sure there's no injuries, and just get first downs and punts or score. So, I do believe there's a lot of angles to be looking at, especially this early in the season. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. In terms of, what we've seen so far, the excitement, upsets left and right everywhere. What more can we really ask for? In terms of the excitement, Colorado. Everybody's talking about Colorado this week. Now it's, the Colorado-Nebraska game, which, I mean, frankly, I can't wait to see what the ratings look like on that. Like, all of a sudden, Dion, it's America's team now? The Buffaloes? They were scoring 7 points a game last year.
I'm fine with that.
I just love college football, and I'm ready, and I'm excited. So,
it's kind of what I wanted to talk about, though, in particular, because, we were doing our top 25 poll for NBC, and I said, well, Colorado has to be in it, and Duke has to be in it. There was one of us on the screen that did not put Duke in the top 25, and that man is smiling right now. Oh, there he goes. But, yeah, I didn't agree with that. But it's all right. We're going to let you pass. Duke will continue to prove people wrong. But I think Colorado team now, we have to recognize, like, how good are they when we adjust our rankings for them, because they're crushing record numbers in this portal where we see all these transfers, all this money thrown around, and they're doing things that have not been done yet. And they put it together in week 1. We talked about TCU. They're not the national championship Horned Frogs of last year. We do know that. That is okay. But the win was impressive. And what we should see them moving forward should be more of that. So, I think they're a top 25 team right now. And that might sound crazy, but a lot of people agree with that. And I think with all the 4- and 5-star recruits, we have to respect them. And Matt Rule better enjoy that stadium today because it's going to be rocking, full of rappers, athletes, musicians. Dion, it's prime time. What you guys think about Colorado? Top 25?
I was close to putting Duke in my top 25. Let me just say that a win at home is not as impressive to me as a win at away. And for me, putting Colorado in was just the sheer fact that they have athletes all over the field. And I know Riley Leonard's a great athlete for Duke, so it's no knock on them. But I had to rank them for what they did. Not only winning, but winning on the road against a team who was in that national championship game. But I also didn't rate TCU that high. I think I had them 17th in my poll before the game.
I had 25.
I gave them the respect factor, kind of like what we did the year after LSU lost, where I think I had LSU ranked 9th. I mean, not lost, excuse me, won the national championship, and they lost everyone to the draft. I had them ranked 9th, which was still too high. I give a little bit of respect. I didn't mind Chandler Morris and Sanders in the backfield. I didn't mind it, but man, I didn't know they were going to be that bad defensively.
Yeah, and I think that too. What happens today, Eric, if Colorado loses to Nebraska? Or do we just stop talking about Colorado in a positive mindset now? Or all we're going to see is they're not who we thought they were? Or what's going to happen? Because I still think they can win, but there's going to be a pizza bet on this one. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, if they lose, it's going to be because Nebraska salted the game away, ran the ball down their throats, and controlled the line of scrimmage. That's how I feel like the one way that Nebraska can have Colorado, because it's not going to be a shootout. I mean, I can't envision 3 interceptions of Jeff Sims last week, Matt Rule wanting to open it up and go full air raid. So they're not going to want that pacing. So if Nebraska does, it's clearly going to be because, they played the similar game plan to what they had against Minnesota, and that they didn't make the kind of mistakes they made against Minnesota, which ultimately doomed them that game, because they probably should have won that game. But
probably, yes.
They fumbled that one away.
What was the post-game win expectancy on that one? I didn't check.
The post-game win expectancy. You're going to have to give me a second on that one. I'm going to have to look.
We can always come back to it when we talk about the Colorado game.
Filibuster for me.
Yeah. Let's segue real quick because I know X said the streak starts today. I have to thank the gambling gods when I get the opportunity, because the streak started yesterday with Mr. Luke Skywalker cashing his over rushing yards last night. I literally doubled down when the number went down, and the entire game they're running all kind of RPO, read options, stretch read plays, and he didn't pull one time. And of course, he runs a 75-yard touchdown run on a broken play. So I don't know, luck, whatever, fate. I thought the handicap was absolutely right. He just wasn't pulling the ball. So yes, the streak starts today. And with that, let's get into the first game of the day. Texas at Alabama. Alabama is a 7-point favorite. Total set at 54.5. Obviously, I'm going to kick this one off for you guys. And listen, I am going to be rooting for the Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, baby, roll. Listen, let's break this game down from a logical standpoint here. Alabama 29-1 against the spread at home under Nick Saban in the last 30 home games. What is great about this game was last year, Texas had the opportunity to play Alabama at night, and they did not. They played Alabama at 12 o'clock, middle of the day, and the stadium was already 11. The stadium was already bumping. Now, Texas has to go to Bryant-Denny, play under the lights, one of the hardest places to play already, now at night during prime time. What I wanted to see out of Alabama was, were the rumors true? Was this offensive line dominant with its size? It's one thing to be big. It's another thing to be big and good. And I think that offensive line is going to be able to make life easier than it was for Jalen Monroe than it was for Bryce Young. Bryce Young was getting pressured almost every second we could think about it. I know that Texas will have the wide receiver advantage, but Malachi Moore is going to be in the game. We have Kool-Aid McChristy on the other side of the ball too. So I think the secondary holds up. This is the first time that we've had to see Quinn Ewers not have two of the most explosive players in college football, and Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. It is up to Quinn Ewers if they perform in this game. I do think that if I want to be like, stop being a fan for a second, I do think that the spread is really sharp. I had Alabama to win by 7. So personally, I'm not going to put anything on their spread, but I will be enjoying the game as a fan, as Mr. Crimson Tide himself. The house is already decorated. I'm going to put the chip and dip in the crock pot, the secret recipe, award-winning secret recipe from NBC. I have the plaque. What do you think about this game, Vaughn?
Well, congratulations for you for that. I did not know that. So,
Yes.
yeah, when we all get together for a Saturday with the boys, I need some of that. All right.
Yes,
so,
I got you.
I'm excited for this game. Like I said, you don't have to bet every single game. And obviously, it's very hard not to want to bet Colorado, Nebraska, or Texas, Alabama today. Everybody that loves college football or is betting college football wants to get some action on these two games. I do think the best angle to say this. Texas 2-5 ATS in their last 7 against the SEC schools. That includes the cover last year. Only Quinn Ewers played that one quarter last season. I do agree with you, Brad. Going to Alabama at night is going to be ridiculously tough. First quarter, first half are definitely angles to look at Alabama. I joked on Bet the Edge. A lifetime percentage better for Alabama. I'm probably hitting 25% of my bets. So I'm not going to go in here and tell you guys to bet Alabama today. I don't want to do that to Bama Nation, especially you, Brad. But I do think that is the side that I would be playing here. I think the Crimson Tide defense will look a lot better. So the under 54 is an angle that I was looking at as well. But Eric, do you have any opinions on this game? Because one guy I was looking at, and I hoped you have a prop on, is Jalen Milroe. I thought that his dual threat ability is what gives Alabama a different look this season and why they could cover the spread of -7.
Yeah, sure. And, with Milroe assuming starting duties, I think it's fair to look back to last year. If you remember, Bryce Young got hurt in week 5 against Arkansas, which led to Jalen Milroe starting against Texas A&M. In that start, he only threw 19 passes, which actually is the exact same amount of passes he threw last week against Middle Tennessee State. So we have a baseline we can expect for him passing-wise. He only put up 111 passing yards, did have a 3-to-1 ratio, of course. But what I like is I think he's going to be running. I don't understand why, you start Jalen Milroe and then wouldn't look to have him doing a lot of RPO or just design quarterback draw runs. I think you see a lot of that today. Last week, I think he rushed 52 yards. He only had 2 carries. They kind of didn't have to do much with him last week. You're going to see that playbook open up. They're going to have to bully around Texas. I can't see the shootout, the shootout method, you sort of like that path being a profitable one for Milroe. So I'm betting they're going to try to grind this out, do a little old school Derrick Henry-esque Alabama. I think they're going to run. I think you see Milroe go over the 50, 51.5 rushing yards. I actually took a couple of speculative plays on the under 205.5 passing yardage too. You
think that's a ladder opportunity as well?
For the rushing? Yeah, if they have ladders. I assume FanDuel will probably have the ladders out there. If you can get that at 70 at double money, yeah. I think he goes. I think he has to run today. You have to run if you want to win.
You have to run. Yeah, and I don't think he's mad at running. Marty said Texas O-line might have some issues. Rice had 3 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. Yes, I agree, but I think on both sides of the ball there's a line advantage. And that's what Alabama's going to have to use, kind of the piggyback off what Eric said, is win this game in the trenches. I was really excited as an Alabama fan to see some 12 personnel. I was excited to see some real smash mouth football. Anybody who's followed me for a length period of time know how I felt about Bill O'Brien. I think Bill O'Brien's a solid coordinator, but at times in college, he was running the plays he was running, the schemes he was running were too complex for the players that he had on the field. And personally, I just wanted to get back to some of that smash mouth football. And if they could do that in this game, I expect big things out of Alabama and the Crimson Tide. If not, Alabama will have to work their butts off to try to get back in the college football playoff conversation, because losing a home game in the eyes of the committee sometimes can do you in. Let's go over to the next game. I have a bet on this. Ole Miss -7.5 at Tulane. Total set at 67.5. I will tell you 65 now, Vaughn. I will tell you that I was close to taking the total, but I actually believe oh my God, this is going to sound so gross coming out of my
Say
mouth.
it.
I actually believe for Ole Miss, Pete Golding was a good hire. I didn't think he was good at Alabama, but I think that Pete Golding was a step up for what Ole Miss had. So basically, like, it's a step down for Alabama, a step up for Ole Miss. This is a massive talent advantage here. Shout out to Willie Fritz, like, great coach. I took Ole Miss -7 because I think the price is wrong. I think I would go closer to like the 10.5 range if I were to set this line. Obviously, Willie Fritz is baked into that line a lot, but man, Jackson Dart held off the quarterback competition and played tremendous. I don't want to sit here and pretend that I'm going to put too much stock in a, 73-7 win over Mercer, but we have to talk about this just talent advantage everywhere. Every position we look, especially starting on the offensive side of the ball, I think we have a talent advantage, wide receivers versus the DBs. Judkins in the backfield is an absolute monster. Jackson Dart, great quarterback. And then this is one of those statement games. Oh my God, I said it. But whenever you have a coach like Lane Kiffin who wants to make a statement that says, no, we're not just Ole Miss, one of the teams that hangs around in the West. We're an Ole Miss team that can win, legitimately win. This is one of those games where you go on the road to one of the older members of the SEC in Tulane, and you beat the snot out of them. Mm-hmm. I took this game at -7. I also parlayed their money line, which we'll talk about later. I'm going pretty heavy on that money line parlay because it's two of my favorite money line spots. The price, I just thought the price of both of them should have been closer to the -400 range. And I know people don't think too much about money line value in that way when you start getting past the -150s, but you have to talk about it in win expectancy or implied odds. And I just thought we were getting too much value to not parlay these two lines. But I'm gonna kick it over to you, Eric. I know you like a player prop. You are a player prop expert. What you got?
Well, yeah, and to get into the win expectancy that you'd asked me before, Nebraska's win expectancy against Minnesota was 95%. They had a 95% post-game win expectancy. They had to jump through innumerable hoops in order to lose that game, and they did. They did. Oh, they did it in spectacular fashion, unfortunately. But man,
95.
A lot of things had to happen to get to a 95% win expectancy and to lose that game. Very difficult to do. With the Ole Miss Tulane game, Michael Pratt just came out. This is breaking news right before the show started that he is questionable to play today.
Whoa.
Yes, that would be a catastrophe for Tulane, an absolute nightmare scenario. And accordingly, you see sort of a philosophy with Willie Fritz that with the receivers, they rotate pretty frequently. You'll see a couple different lines of receivers, though Jaquan Jackson usually stays in. He'll lead the team in reps. But Lawrence Keys had a nice game last week, but I feel like his current 45.5, if there's no Michael Pratt, good luck hitting that. Okay, you're going with a backup QB against a SEC defense, as Brad articulated upon with Mr. Golding. They are better than they were last year, in my estimation. I think we'll probably see them around 24, 25 points per game allowed. I think they were like 29 last year.
Yep.
So I do think we'll see an improvement out of Ole Miss. Having a backup quarterback starting, having to complete passes 45.5 for Lawrence Keys, that's not happening, simply. I mean, that's fine. You want to do that against the G5 and FCS competition, but when you're getting into this rarefied air, that is a very difficult mountain to climb. So I'm going to go under Lawrence Keys, 45.5.
I love that. I also love the fact that it says, he's a game time decision right now. The line's moved to 8.5 in favor of Ole Miss, total down to 64.5. 63.5 in some spots. So starting to look like, Brad, that is the right angle. Eric, that is the right angle. I feel like I should just make it a trifecta and go under 64.5, but I'm going to look for a Tulane team total. I think that's an appropriate angle to look at too right now.
I tried to isolate my handicap. I've been trying to do that a little bit more as much as I possibly can. And isolate on Ole Miss team total over, but it actually was like way too correlated with the spread. So I just ended up going and taking the spread there.
Tulane's team total is 27.5 right now with a backup quarterback against the SEC defense, possibly.
Oh boy.
What do we think about that?
Why would they break that news so late? Usually you
know.
hear about that a little bit, a little beforehand. You're going to float that right before the game, and then he's going to come out and just play like there's nothing going on. I smell.
It feels like he's got to be out, right? Like you don't say someone's going to be questionable. Was it 20 minutes before the game? They play at 12, right?
They play at 3:30.
Oh, they play at 3:30.
Ole Miss and Tulane play at 3:30.
Oh, they play at 3:30. Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting to me.
We'll see.
Yeah,
hold off. But I think that's definitely
I've already bet it, so like I have no other choice but to keep it. It's not like I'm gonna go back and not play it. I'm gonna go back and cash out or anything. Let's talk about the Big Ten Saturday night on Peacock game. Charlotte at Maryland. Total set at 51.5. Vaughn, what you got for this game?
Well, we talked about this a little bit on Betting Big, Brad, and we can't trust Maryland's defense, that's for sure. The over certainly looks like a pretty good angle here. One thing I liked about Maryland last week is they had 4 passing touchdowns in the first half of their game. Got out to a quick start, and like you said, they kind of saved their juice in the second half. They're taking it off a little bit. So I'm kind of looking at Maryland's first half. It's 27.5 for plus 100 right now. I wanted the Terps team total in particular, but no one's offering that isolated yet. I think if you're getting a 14.5 to 16.5, it's worth taking it over. Maryland could and should score 3 touchdowns in the first half against Charlotte here on primetime TV, obviously the NBC game. And Maryland is a team that could score 40+. They had 30 on Townsend last week, only scored 10 points in the second half, kind of relaxed. You look at Charlotte, they put up 24 on South Carolina State, FCS program, only allowed 3 points. So this is a very I see why this spread's 24.5, but I want no parts of it, Brad. So are you with me on the first half, or is there
No, I'm with you on the first half. I think Maryland first half team total over 20.5 is solid too. This is a Charlotte team who allowed almost 500 yards per game last year, and a Maryland team who this is going to be their big year. And by big year, I don't mean they're going to win the Big Ten, but they have 8 or 9 wins in their belt. Last year, winning 7 was the best under Loxley they had. They are building something here. I do fear for them once Talia Tagovailoa leaves, but I mean, Loxley's a good offensive coach, a good offensive mastermind. He won a national championship with Alabama here. There is a question for Eric, so we'll wait till he gets back, but let's kick it over to the next game. But before we do, I want to invite you guys to check out the NBC Sports YouTube Shorts to see myself, Vaughn, and Eric in our new show, Betting Big, and Bet It in a Minute segments, where we will cover you heard that right, every Big Ten game every week, all season long. I think the mystery man, the prop magic daddy is back. Eric, we have a question for you real quick. They said they can only find 39.5 for keys. Would you take it? Looks like we don't have you on the volume, so we'll come back to that question.
Sorry, yes, I will take it. Under.
Okay.
Sorry.
All good.
Absolutely, yeah. With the recent news that just came up, if there's no Michael Pratt, that this is DOA. So I think you have to.
Awesome. Let's move over to our best bets segment. I lost last week, and I will tell you guys this. I had Penn State as my best bet and took it down because I was afraid of the backdoor cover. Little did I know it was going to be them covering late with 26 seconds left to go. Vaughn, what's your best bet? Me and you are both 1-1, so let's get some wins on this board.
Yes, I'm super excited about this one. The line actually moved on me slightly. When we talked about it earlier in the week, it was 10.5. Now it is 9.5, but that's okay. I don't think UNLV is scoring 10-plus points at Michigan at the Big House. UNLV, they put up 44 points last week, but that was against the Bryant Bulldogs, okay? Michigan was on cruise control. They won 30-3 against East Carolina last week, so they haven't allowed a touchdown yet. I think they could go 2 straight games here. When you look at last season, UNLV's offense, they scored 10 points or less against San Jose State, Air Force, and San Diego State. We talked a lot about those 3 teams and their defenses last year and their rushing offenses. I think Michigan's much, much better, more elite in both those categories. So I think the running Rebels do not score a touchdown. I think this will be a field goals only type of game. So I don't want to touch Michigan's spread. I would lean the game total under, but the best bet in that game and the 1.5 unit bet for me UNLV Running Rebels, team total under 9.5. Let's get it. 2-1.
I'm with you, Vaughn. I took the Rebels team total under. The price is dead now, 10.5. That's just one of those reminders to give you guys the opportunity. Follow all of us on Twitter. I'm at Mr. Brad Thomas. Vaughn's at V Money Sports. Eric's at CF Froton. I get that right, Eric?
You did, indeed.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Because we do give out plays throughout the week, but sometimes by the show, the lines are already dead. I think that 10.5 is now minus 200. But I still like Vaughn's under 9.5. So I second that. I'm going to go with my best bet, and it is Notre Dame minus 7.
Let's go.
I wanted to talk about this game. I didn't know I was going to make it my best bet, but this is a battle of the trenches. If Notre Dame were to be the team they were last year without Sam Hartman under center, I would have made this minus 4.5. Now you're asking me, is Sam Hartman worth 2.5 points? No, but I think that last year's team versus this year's team is more physical in the trenches, and it's because they're led by two very, very elite offensive linemen. You guys know one of them, Joe Alt. He's talked about in the media, probably will be a top 5 draft pick. And then we have on the other side of the ball, we have a North Carolina State team that's kind of, I don't know, are the excuses coming already? After week 1, they weren't all that impressive, and Robert and I wanted to, make his team this fast-paced, explosive team. I listened to the press conference, and they asked him, what's one thing you want to change week over week? And Anai said, one-word answer, explosiveness. That doesn't happen against this Notre Dame team because I think Notre Dame has the ability to bully them. I didn't even get into the offensive line against NC State's defensive line. NC State gave up almost 180 rush yards last game to UConn. I think Audric Estime runs like madman. What's funny is when I wrote my article early in the week, I projected they would set his line at 90.5. It's set lower. So that's a play that we're going to take there. Vaughn, we will – I don't know if Eric's with us. We'll pass on him on the best bets, and then we'll come back to him. Oh, we might have him actually.
Well, I want to say this, Brad, because I'm also a Notre Dame minus 7. That's one of my official plays. Nice. I played that Sunday, as soon as opening line. I texted you guys a couple plays I got, and we'll talk about closing line value and all that.
Yeah.
But, Hartman's also played NC State 3 times in his career. And in those games, you want to know how many points Wake Forest defense allowed? 42 points, 42 points, and 45 points. Guess what? Notre Dame might not allow that total for like a month. So, I like Notre Dame a lot, among other reasons we'll talk about later in the prop market as well. But I think we're 2-0 in the best bets department so far. So, Eric, I mean, you better show up, my man.
Yes, Eric, what do you got? You're muted again, my friend.
I'm going to go with wide receiver Baylor, Keytron Jackson. He's an Arkansas transfer. And, last week he looked pretty good against lower competition. But as always, with week 1, you have to take these sort of things with a grain of salt. This week, Blake Shapen, their starting quarterback for Baylor, injured. He will not be playing due to an MCL sprain. We now have Sawyer Robertson, a Mississippi State transfer, coming in. Looked quite uncomfortable during his first stint. I am going to go with the under on Keytron Jackson here at 41.5. Started out 45.5, has ticked gradually down. They're playing Utah, has an excellent secondary, including my cousin Cole Bishop at safety, who is All-American caliber. So I think with the backup quarterback playing elevated competition against Utah, a one-hit wonder sort of a thing out of Keytron Jackson, I need to see that passing game perform twice in a row against upper echelon top 15 team like Utah. Show it to me.
I like that. I'm glad you said that because I'm going to talk about this game later. Losing Shapen was probably the main reason, but I still probably would have played this even without Shapen. But if you guys are looking for NFL betting content because the week 1 just started, then you have the Dream Duo right in front of you. Vaughn and myself got you covered with spreads, picks, and player props all season long on NBCSports.com and our X accounts at Mr. Brad Thomas and V Money Sports. Boys, the People's Parlay. We need this.
If it doesn't win today, honestly, we need a fan vote.
We need a fan vote. We might need to change the segment to the community parlay.
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead with my two-headed monster because I wanted to talk about this. Ole Miss money line, Utah money line. I would have bet Utah money line without with Chapin playing in there, Baylor, they're in trouble. Baylor's in trouble. Offensive line, defensive line, weak. There was a time we knew that Baylor was going to hang their hats on defense. Now they're going against a very, very imposing Utah team. I don't see Baylor moving the ball. Like this is one of those games where maybe I'm playing it safe and not taking the -7. If you want to take -7, I suggest you take this to -10 and you play the plus. You play the plus line because I think I had them at 10 points as a fair value there. So that's Ole Miss money line plus Utah money line for my leg. What you got for us, V?
Yeah, I love the fact that you had Utah because I played the -5.5 opening spread on Sunday. Watch that now. It's 7.5. That's a game we're going to break down too. So I love the closing line value, 2 points there. I'm on Notre Dame -7, so I made them my parlay piece. I'm going back to basics. We may have got a little too cute in the first 2 weeks when it came to the people's parlay. So this is really like a base juice reducer with 3 teams that should absolutely win, that are better than their opponents. And we already see the line movement in all 3 teams in our favor. So I'm hoping it wins. And Eric, I know you're kind of getting left out here because Brad took 2, but we're going to need you to come in hard next week because if we lose, I think that us 2 are on timeout.
Yeah,
and then a fan to come in.
Boys.
Yeah, that's really what it is. So plus 137. I think we can win this together, everybody.
Yes.
I feel confident we win this together.
I agree. The game that everyone is excited for. More bets on this game than any game in NFL. Nebraska at Colorado. Colorado, a 3-point favorite. Total set at under 59 points. Vaughn, listen, we have another pizza bet, man.
Yeah, I heard there's more pizzas being bet too on this game than any other game this weekend.
What's your pizza bet? Tell us why you like it first.
Well, I got this Sunday at -130, but it wasn't the best line. I'm going to say a guilty pleasure of mine is still using Snapchat. I love Snapchat. It's one of my favorite apps ever created. And I had 3 Snapchats Sunday saying, dude, why is Colorado +1? Dude, why is Colorado a pick'em? Dude, I'm like, I don't know. That should be -3 at least. And it's closing there at -3, -3.5, which is correct. And we know it opened at +7.5 for Colorado's home underdog. So we're seeing a 10-point swing. My opinion, you should not be laying the 3 or 3.5 at this point. The best of the numbers have been gone. And everybody, like Brad said, is getting a bet on this game. So I played the money line. We're going to have the pizza bet. Brad wants the +3. I'm going to go ahead and put my chest out there and say that Deion Sanders is going to have his team more ready than Matt Rule is and take the -3 against Brad because going in there to a stadium last year that was not intimidating. No one cared about going in there. It was empty. Now they're going into the most raucous atmosphere possibly all week outside of Alabama, arguably with Alabama. So Matt Rule, hopefully those college kids really like you, man, because you're going to need them to really have your back today. I don't think it's going to happen. They're just lucky this isn't a night game. So give me Colorado.
I am going to side here with Eric in what the game plan is going to be for Nebraska, and that is
slow it down,
run the ball down their throats, control the time of possession, and I think they could do that. Colorado last week allowed over 250 rush yards, and we kind of said that the issue for Colorado was going to be the size of their offensive and defensive lines, and it was true. It happened. Shedeur Sanders was pressured on 36. This is off the top of my head, so if it's off by a couple percentages, don't sue me, but was pressured on 36% of his dropbacks. And that wasn't a good defensive line for TCU. Granted, he didn't get sacked because he is able to move around the pocket, but I don't think that's going to happen. If they let up that much pressure, I don't think it's going to happen. It's going to happen where he's going to stay clean the entire game. And also on the other side of the ball, we have Jeff Sims. Jeff Sims should be able to run. Nebraska design. I believe it's somewhere around upwards of 13 designed QB runs last week. It could be closer to the 10 mark. I projected them last game to have 7. No, they're running with Jeff Sims. Like I said, Colorado's D-line is a little bit smaller. I'm not worried about him getting sacked too much, taking away from that. Eric, do you have anything to say about Sims?
Yeah, absolutely. Remember last week, you and I both followed him, and he was at 34.5 rushing yards.
Yeah,
that was an insultingly low line that was simply never based in reality. He went for, I believe, $115 right in that range against a very stout Minnesota defense. This is what Nebraska is going to be doing here, people. They're going to be running the RPO stuff. Again, just like Milroe, they threw less than 20 passes last year. I think you see the same game script. Milroe and Sims, I like both of their rushing overs. Obviously, Sims a little bit higher at 64.5 because he's playing, frankly, a less potent defense. But the game scripts are going to be the same. He threw 3 interceptions last week.
Yeah.
You're not going to be throwing the ball 30, 35 times with Jeff Sims. He will be running the ball. Game flow wise, I think this makes all the sense in the world. Over.
Can I ask you a question, Brad?
Yeah.
If I Venmo you right now, can we make this squad ride number 1 of this season?
Yeah. What time's that game at?
Noon. So I'm going to Venmo you right now.
So we got to go.
Okay.
Showtime.
Squad ride number 1, because I love this play too. I think that he's going to run all over Colorado, honestly. I think this is a 100-yards game. Prop ladder as well, Eric. But, yeah, when I was looking at the prop market, I was like, this is one that I can get down with. And I was looking at
Sims-a-mania running wild, brother.
Yes, let's
Eric,
go.
can you kick off the next game while I get this bet in for Vaughn?
Yeah, I sure can. I mean, is there anything more virtuous than getting a bet in for a squad ride number 1? I can't think of anything. Oregon is favored by 6.5 points at Lubbock against Texas Tech. The over/under is 68.5. My play is I got a doozy here for you. Marquise Irving, Bucky, as he is known affectionately around the team, was opened at 17.5 receiving yards. That is now ticked up to 19.5. It doesn't matter to me. I still like the over. It's a case where Marquise Irving, this is what he does. He is one of the best receiving backs in the nation. He broke 100 yards last week with just 4 carries. Okay, he got two passes for 12 yards before hitting the showers because it was 81-7 against Portland State. He didn't have to do anything. But what's really I'm basing my opinion off of, Bucky Irving, in 7 of his last 9 games, has caught 3 passes for 25+ yards. Okay, 7 of the last 9, 3 passes, 25+. We only have to get to 20 here. All right, started 17.5, ticked up. This is an easy over for me. He is clearly a factor. Noah Whittington, who was his number 2 last year, was kind of, equally effective in the passing game. Did not play last game. Very questionable for this game. I see the Bucky show. Easy call over 19.5.
We officially have a squad ride on Sims, Eric. So me, you, and Vaughn are riding on Sims today. We are breaking down Oregon versus Texas Tech, right?
Yes, we are. We know that we were all focused on doing.
Yeah, I was super focused.
No one's going to hold that against you.
I had a question. I had a question for Eric about this game, and then let's answer a couple of these questions that we have in here. What's your cutoff for playing Bo Nix over in this game? Passing over. I think the line ballooned to almost unplayable for me, but I wanted to see what your number was.
The beauty is he opened up real low this week. I think we opened up right around 240 is what I had in my initial, opening line column, and has moved up to, I think he was hovering around 260. Where is he at right now?
266.
266. He just keeps going up, and it's obvious why. They're playing Texas Tech. Texas Tech averaged 86.5 plays per game last year. That was number 1 in terms of plays per game in the country. Number 4 in terms of plays per second. So when it comes to pace, Zach Kitley's crew is going to be humming. This is going to be an active game. There's going to be points scored. So it's entirely logical to want to back that. I think you probably go up to 275. With 275. With Nix, as I had noted in my column, dating back to last year, he had eclipsed, the 270. I think it was probably 275. He'd eclipsed that mark in 8 of his last 10 games, dating back to last season. The first 5 games last year, they were sort of getting up to speed. Then down the back stretch, he hit it all, except for North Carolina, which was the very last game, and he was a little banged up for it against Drake May in the bowl. But that was a bowl game, Regular season games, he's hit this 8 of the last 10. I think you have to up to 275.
Okay, cool. I think I'm going to play it. I think there's a 260 around. I'll play that after the show. Thanks, dude. Let's talk about the next game. We already broke this down, but I know Eric has a play. Me and him have been texting about this. Notre Dame at NC State. Notre Dame 7-point favorite, as we discussed earlier. Actually, let's get to questions first. I'm sorry, because this is a betting Q&A.
Gotta give people what they want.
We have to ask them. We have to answer some questions. I like this one, Milrose 70 plus at plus 220 on FanDuel.
Value.
Milrose is going to have an explosion game at some point where he explodes for like massive rushing yards, and you want to get it. You want to get to the window before he actually has it.
He only had 2 carries last week, and he went for over 50 yards against Middle Tennessee. They didn't even have to do anything.
He's explosive. He's gonna
have 12 to 15 carries today. I mean, if he doesn't, why? Explain.
And like he had design runs, which I love. Like the 2 runs were design runs, which were
dude, the design runs are the best. Just take a quick look. Oh, I'm passing. No, I'm not. I want plenty of those. I want plenty of the draws.
I like this as well, but I don't feel like I need to play it. Thoughts on Ole Miss moneyline Tulane not to get to 30 points? I like that. I think it just correlates a lot with what I've been saying. So yeah, Dominic, I'm down to ride this. Any Holy Cross handicappers in here that want to answer this?
They're playing Boston College.
Boston College.
Boston College is terrible, as Eric showed the whole entire broadcast last week.
Sure did, didn't
probably Holy Cross.
Burned once, but fool me once. Sorry, not again, BC. But 10.5 against Holy Cross. Come on, BC. Like with that offensive line, 85 starts coming back. Thomas Castellanos starting. I got offended. It was the Emmett Moorhead. He was the problem. You got Castellanos starting. He made that incredible play, which is highlight reel worthy. He dropped the snap, ran around, and finally hit it. I'm going BC. I'm laying.
You know what? I'm riding with Dom D. I'm riding with Dom D. All right, I'm taking Holy Cross. What's the money line, Dom? Can you put in the chat what the money line is? Because that's going to be added to the money line sprinkle segment, baby. All I'm saying is this: Dom D might be sent for a grace to me right now. I just bought a car on Thursday. That's my first car in 2.5 years. Oh, thank you. It is sexy. And I usually name my car female names, but I named my car Dominic, and it was weird. And now it's called Dom Diesel by my family.
Oh, heck
so
yeah.
The fact that Dominic D said
it's
Holy
a sign.
Cross, that's the sign. Moneyline sprinkle. Sorry, Eric. You're going down, bro. You're going down.
Fair enough.
The other Dominic, though, in the chat, talk about Penn State versus Delaware.
Dominic Day.
Yeah, it is Dominic Day. I love that. What do you guys think about Penn State, Delaware? Team total under on Delaware, probably, right?
I was going to take Penn State spread. What was it, like
41.5?
40 something? Yeah, I think I was thinking Penn State spread. Just as a fun. If I could play like a game where it was like to win to nil, like you couldn't soccer, that would be one of them. Like it's just going to be unfair.
Yes. No, I think it's going to be an absolutely terrible game to watch. They're going to demolish them. Team total under. It's going to be an absolute great sweat. So I get some on Delaware around 6.5, 7.5. I'll probably play that. But we also got
Pens.
Hey, got to. But yeah, I definitely like a couple of these comments in here. Any opinions on this one, Eric? A&M receiving props.
On Evan Stewart receiving props? Over. Oh
yeah.
Love it. Oh, I love it, dude. First off, I'm huge on Texas A&M. I believe in them. I think that with Bobby Petrino there, all the talent. I love Wegman. Like from
Wegman, I took his over.
I love this high school tape. I like what I saw last year. I like Wegman. I think he goes over, and with Evan Stewart getting 10 targets, I think they both do. So I'm over on Wegman and Stewart, and I'm bullish on Texas A&M in general and think they win. So
yeah.
I'm on A&M.
Since we're already here, I wanted to say that I broke down this game in every anticipation to fade Texas A&M, and I ended up not because I think that I'm going to bet Texas A&M at the close. The line's coming back in my in the opposite direction, so I'm waiting until the close. But Texas A&M, oh my god, I don't have my note, but I'll just say off the top of my head. But basically, like the Texas A&M defensive line stats compared to the offensive line stats for Miami were like alarming, right? And we knew Texas A&M was going to have a solid defensive line. Like the numbers were like just jumped off the page. But now we have Bobby Trino come in, pushes the pace of play. Wegman looks good. Now the offense is not just this stale, stagnant, not moving the ball. So the defense is not on the field as much, which means the defense can be more physically imposing. I think Miami's in trouble. The running back, I'm drawing a blank. Whatever his name is for Miami, his total
Parrish.
Parrish. His total went down too by quite some yards because I do think that it's going to be a domination on the defensive line for Texas A&M. I'll play Texas A&M spread, but just wait because the number's coming down. We're going to get a really good price by kickoff.
Yeah, and I like you mentioned Parrish. He started out at 59.5, and I bet him he was down to 57.5. He's on the show sheet. I am taking his under at 57.5 still.
Nice.
Look, point is, they're going up against A&M, who is rebuilt. They weren't great against the run last year. It was definitely, sort of, what could be said for criticism. But with Parrish, you got a Jay Allen who came in there, transferred from Nebraska. You got Mark Fletcher, true freshman, who has been the talk of camp. Don Chaney's back. All three of those guys, besides Parrish, all got carries last week. They, in fact, with all four of them, got 8 or 9 carries exactly between the four of them spread out. Ooh. I think, this is a backwards-looking line at Parrish, who is pretty much the only guy standing in 2022 left in that running back room who really got hurt by attrition.
Yeah.
With 4 fully healthy guys that will all be getting carries, I don't see how you can take that over here against an SEC defense. It's going to be a lot better this season. Like, this is a great fade. Not a good one, a great one. That is I would consider this another best bet. Parrish under 57.5.
Wait, really? Okay, I'm gonna have to lock that one in.
It's a double best bet because my best bet last week was Kylie Robinson. He didn't play, so I didn't get a chance. It would have been Shador, but so I have to have a backup here. Also, this is a big game for me. Amari Daniels under 60.5 rushing yards. I don't know what it is now. It was at 56.5 recently.
Okay.
Opened at 60.5. I like him under 2. You got 2 backfields here that have multiple committee type situations. Reuben Owens, number 1 running back in the country at Texas A&M. He will be getting carries. Le'Veon Moss is a top 5 running back last year. He's going to have his say in terms of getting some looks too. So you have too many cooks in the kitchen there. I think both of these running backs that are the nominal starters in name only go under.
I like that. Let's talk. Eric, give us your play for Notre Dame, North Carolina State here, and then we'll move along through the games a little bit faster so we can get through them.
Yeah, I got 2. I like Audric Estime. He started out at 77.5, hopped on that right away, is now up to 83.5, somewhere in that ballpark, 82.5, 83. I like his over. As you saw in the first 2 games, he is the designated bell cow. There are, Darian Price is there, Jeremiah Love, Jabrian Payne. But look, when it's go time, he's the starter. He is the RB1, and it's clear. Look no further than week 1 against Navy when they were up almost 40 points. Last, possession of the game for Notre Dame. Game's over. They brought out Audric Estime to have 3 carries, which pushed he was pushed his total over. He is the bell cow. He will get the requisite 15 carries, and if he does, I see him clearing. I also like Hartman. Hartman started out at 224.5. He's up to around that 240 mark. Dude, he's one of the best pure passers in the country.
Yes.
He's been there for 6 years. I mean, this is a new look, more up-tempo. I think this is going to be a more potent Notre Dame team that doesn't have to rely on the run 100% now that they have Drew Pine, now they have, Buckner gone. I just think we're not giving the credit to Hartman that he deserves, and he's going to air it out this game. He's going to go over that 235, 240.
Raheem Ashford, the starting safety for NC State's out too. So that's probably why we saw line movement. One of the 4 guys that have experience are not going to be in there. So, yeah, Sam Hartman, second best QBR rating we talked about. Brad hit us at like 2 a.m. with that list. And I was like, he's solely just bragging about Penix and Sam Hartman. But I love to see it. So, yeah, I'm with you there. I'm on Notre Dame -7 too. I think the Fighting Irish roll. You guys mind if I take you to what's like my game of the week?
Yes, 100%.
It was supposed to be my best bet, but the line moved. So I played a little under in Iowa State, the Cyhawk. It was 38.5 when it opened. I said, there's no way this should be 38.5. We need to be seeing 35.5 or 36. So now it's going down to 35.5 some places, 36 flats. So I'm going to make it an official out of 36.5, even though I played 38.5 and 36.5. What do you need to know? Both offenses stink. It's going to be bad. Caden McNamara, He's only played a few games there. He's not really into his routine yet, and he's a little banged up. They've talked about not 100% healthy for the Iowa State offense. I don't even need to go into depth about how bad that offense really is. But both defense is much better. In the last 4 meetings, points per game average, 28. Unders hit 4 straight in 5 of the last 6. Both defenses are going to just look elite here. I don't see anyone scoring 20. If anyone does score 20, that's the winner of this game. Under 36.
I'm on that total as well. And that number was funny because, like, I think that if you look at the PFF grades for both of these teams, we'll go from last year to this year. They're like upper 85, 86 average between the two of them. And then you look at the offensive grades, they're pretty low. I didn't see Decker's going to get confirmed back in. Iowa State's going to have another 4 or 5 more starters on offense out. But last year, like, Iowa State, even with Decker's, was last in the Big 12 in total offense, last in scoring, and last in downfield completion percentage. This is going to be a tough one here for points. I'm on that under as well. I believe I wrote that up in my column. Let's touch on another game here. Unless, Eric, do you have a play in that game? I didn't see. Let me double check.
He has a play on the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, just the
he does.
Just the standard under on Rocco Mofo Becht.
Because we can't take Spencer Petras
anymore. We can't take Petras.
So you got to do somebody else.
Yeah, we got to take the Iowa State quarterback.
Well, yeah, I mean, you might as well take the guy that, got beat out by Hunter Deckers. Hunter Deckers gets suspended. Now he has to, come in. J.J. Cole, who is a top 10 quarterback out of the 2023 class, this year's class, gave him a run. He played last week. He got 2 series, probably get another 2 series against Iowa. If Becht doesn't perform, we'll see J.J. Cole earlier. He will get more snaps. So we do have a potential contentious QB situation, and going up against Iowa and just an inexperienced quarterback playing for a team that was at, I think, like bottom 5 in terms of pace last season. So, both of these teams, we know what Iowa and Iowa State do. I don't need to belabor the point, but hey, the nominal under 161.5 for Rocco Becht.
I like that. I want to talk about this game real quick because this line's going to move. It's Wisconsin at Washington State. Wisconsin is a 6-point favorite. Total set at 58. I'm on Washington State plus 6.5 was what I wrote up, but I'm okay with 6. I think it gets to 5.5 by the open. It's just a wrong line. It's one of those anticipatory lines where we bring in Luke Fickell. They talk about this air raid, and then they kind of backtrack on their statements in the midweek press conference where it's a work in progress. They said it themselves. They use those words, work in progress. Then they changed the name of it, not from air. It changed it from air raid to, I can't remember what it was, but basically their excuse or what they were saying was it's not necessarily an air raid. It's catching you with the element of surprise. You don't know if they're going to try to run or throw it through the air. It's just a lot of them still trying to figure themselves out. And Washington State's no slouch. Yeah, obviously they won last year. This game's in Pullman. It's hard to win in Pullman. Cameron Ward is a freaking baller. And then more importantly, what a lot of people don't realize when you hear the term Washington State or you think Pac-12, you think no defense. But Cougars were like a top 25 in defensive efficiency last year, a 77.5 PFF defensive grade. I think they keep this one close. I actually have them on upset alert. They're going to be in my money line sprinkles. I just really like this here as a big upset spot for Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think that looks like you want to go with the revenge angle from a Wisconsin angle. That's certainly something I looked at, but I wasn't impressed in the first half with Tanner Mordecai and the Badgers offense.
He needs to settle in.
Second half, they settled in the second half a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to roll over here against Washington State. And both offenses are, Washington State's offense is no slouch either. When you look at the total yards from last year, though, it was really embarrassing for Washington State and Wisconsin. So that game should not have resulted in Wisconsin should have won that game probably by at least a touchdown, and they lost by 3 at home.
Yeah.
It makes me want to say revenge angle here, but I don't feel confident taking either side. So I'm going to pass here. I did want to talk about a game that, if everyone remembers last year, it may have been the best game of the entire football season. And that's Appalachian State and North Carolina. If you remember how that ended, it basically guy went for a 2-point conversion. He was wide open, and the ball went right over his fingertips, and he fell on his butt. And that was the team that I had as my best bet, and that's pretty much the downfall where my season started. So I remember that game, every part of that game. But I want to say this year the total opened up 61.5. It was too high. 58.5, I still think is too high. And you might say North Carolina doesn't have a defense. No, but they do now. If you watch them versus South Carolina, the Tar Heels defense looked tremendous. Last year against App State, they had 1 sack. Against South Carolina in week 1, they had 9 sacks. Sacked Spencer Rattler 9 times.
Wow.
The Tar Heels defense is not the same defense from a year before. I'm not saying they flipped the script. They're going to be the best in the ACC. I'm not saying any of that.
Good.
But against Appalachian State, they're going to be getting after the quarterback, and they're going to be making stops. So, Brad, we talked about it. We're going to collab on this one. The under 58.5.
I'm down.
App State.
Oh, we got to
All right, let me lock it in for myself. Yes. Heck yeah. I'm about it.
I mean, are you jealous, Eric? Like, do you want to join, or are you just going to sit there and talk?
Oh, no. I don't want to. This is all you guys, I don't want to.
Yeah, okay. Let's ride this.
I don't want to barge my way into this collab.
No, but yeah, we already got the squad rides too. So squad ride, a collab, a pizza bet today, and a winning people's parlay. Sounds like a great show so far.
It looks like we're getting sort of down to go time here. We try to squeeze in my last couple of props.
Squeeze in your props
before kickoff here. We're getting down to go time. All right, Alec Holler, tight end, UCF, and Brad loves when I talk about UCF guys, especially when I can go holla holla. I know you like that one. So tight end Alec Holler. I can't believe, they're listing tight ends here, which I love. So we're going to go under, obviously, 20.5 receiving yards. So last week, he had 2 catches for 21 yards against Kent State with a touchdown. Now, keep in mind, Alec Holler played 23 snaps, only ran 14 routes on those 23 snaps because he is a pass blocker. You have another tight end there, Randy Pittman Jr. All right, so last game also 3 of 5 targets he caught for 21 yards. He got 5 targets as opposed to Holler's 2. All right, so they're just because he caught the touchdown, which was on kind of a trick play, that's kind of not repeatable. It's sort of like a little pretending to run jump pass. He ended up getting down kind of a fluke. I just think he went under far too many times last year. 7 of the last 9 games, Alec went under this 21 mark. He's a blocking tight end who probably shouldn't be listed. We're going under on Hala Hala.
Okay.
We're also going to go with Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State, under 60.5 rushing yards last week against Central Arkansas. 7 carries for Ollie, 44 yards. 6 carries for Jaden Nixon. 8 carries for Elijah Collins. You have a 3-headed monster in there. All right. Now they're playing Arizona State, not an FCS team. Ollie Gordon was kind of behind Dominic Richardson all of last year. We don't know how this entire room is going to shake out. I'm going to take a speculative under on Ollie Gordon as well.
Does that do it for your? I want to make sure you have the full floor to get all your props out. You got any more?
Okay, last one.
Yes.
Dominic Richardson. We have one more Dominic.
I like this one. I like this one.
2 Dominics already in the Q&A. We have 3 now. I'm going to go under 70.5 rushing yards against Utah. Last week versus Texas State, he had 16 carries for 79 yards. Only averaged 4.9 yards per carry. Okay. Richard Reese only got 7 carries. I think you're going to see more of a split. You're playing against Utah this week. Baylor got housed by Texas State last week, okay?
Yep.
What worked last week is not going to work. It didn't work last week. It's not going to work again this week. You're going to see a tougher sledding against this Utah defense. You're going to see more of a split backfield. Good luck hitting 70 yards, Dom Richardson, under.
Vaughn, any more plays you want to squeeze out before we get to the close of the window?
Let's see. I'm on Oregon -6.5. I didn't really talk about that one too much, but a lot of the same reasons. Oregon should just blow by and score as many points as humanly possible again. The one we didn't talk about at all, actually, USC plays tonight. I think it's a possible chase game for a lot of people, but I do think USC blows out Stanford. Best offense in college football looks like right now. Brad, you talked me into that one. 56 and 66 points in the first 2 games. They beat Stanford 41-28 last year. Stanford beat Hawaii, but they also allowed 355 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Hello, Caleb Williams. So I think it's going to be a great game, and he should have quite a day. So I did lay the -29 with USC, and I think I pretty much went over every other play I had out today.
The only one I have left, I will tell you guys to wait on this line before lock. We got some buyback on the other side. That's UTEP money line versus Northwestern. I'm not buying Ben Bryant. There's a lot of data points that suggest to bet UTEP. I was trying to see what the buyback was about, but it literally was. So let me explain this. Like, it was a 3 points favorite for Northwestern. Then it went all the way to 2 for UTEP. Now there's massive buyback on the other side with no news. I think they're just trying to value hunt, and like sharps are going to play both sides. Like, if you get 3 on one side and 2 on the other, that's a massive middle in betting. I'm okay if the sharps want to buy me back and take me to UTEP plus 2.5. I'll still take the money line either way. So those are my bets, guys. And listen, first of all, go ahead.
But Holy Cross moneyline.
I forgot moneyline sprinkle.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
that's all I want to say.
I forgot.
I played it on the files on my phone, getting it in. But UMass is playing Miami, Ohio today. UMass can beat Miami of Ohio. They're 4-17 ATS in their last 21 non-conference road games. Terrible. Taking Holy Cross because Dom said in the chat, I named my card Dom, and Eric put us on the Boston College last week. That's all we had to see. And then Arkansas State always plays Memphis tough. They're 21.5-point underdogs. Sounds a lot like Colorado-TCU of last week. Arkansas State just lost 73-0 to Oklahoma.
Yeah,
they're gonna be PO'd. So give me Arkansas State. I never watched them play this year, but they're gonna win. Plus 800.
Plus 800. Moneyline sprinkle, baby. My only moneyline sprinkle is Washington State, guys. Let me close this out here and thank everyone for tuning in on however you guys are watching. We really appreciate it. Make sure you come with your questions next week. For Vaughn Dalzell, Eric Froton, I'm Brad Thomas. Roll Tide and have a good day.